I'm Charles Ruby. I'm a native of Jefferson County. I will serve as your MC this evening. I have one introduction or one comment to make. If you are wearing a cell phone or some kind of an electronic device, please shut it off or get it in a silence mode. It's our honor this evening, as the wall has came to Fairfield, that we have the mayor of Fairfield to introduce the Vietnam Memorial Wall to the city of Fairfield. So the mayor is going to make his welcome comments. Immediately following that, Ray Chambers, the Veterans Affairs Officer for Jefferson County, will make a few comments. So Mayor Malloy, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the opening of the Wall That Heals, honoring those brave soldiers that served our country and died in combat during the Vietnam War. I want to thank the American Legion Auxiliary for their work in bringing this powerful monument of sacrifice to our city. We are proud to be hosting this Veterans Memorial in Fairfield. I have been to the memorial in Washington, D.C. 3 times. The last time was this past July. I have 2 friends who fought and died in the war, and I am comforted when I visit the wall and remember them. As the years go by, I appreciate them more and more. I recently attended the funeral of my good friend Congressman Leonard Boswell, who served as a helicopter pilot specializing in rescue missions, and heard the stories of his heroism from a 50-year friend and fellow servicemen who flew with him. These stories and the stories of all the veterans in this room today who served our country inspire us and is why we are here today. At this time, I'd like to ask those who served in the Vietnam War to stand and be recognized. I know there are many more in our community who will be here over the next 3 days, and we will also be recognizing and honoring those from this area who died during that war. Growing up during the time of the war and being eligible for the draft in 1970, I understand why this exhibit is called The Wall That Heals. Our country was divided about many things about the war, and the mistakes that were made by those in power and later admitted. The ones caught in the middle were those who served. As a nation, we didn't show them the honor they deserved. Today, with this monument, we all get our chance to heal those feelings and say, we understand your sacrifice and we honor your service. Today, we as a nation have a deeper respect for those who choose to serve our country. We understand the commitment they make and the role they play in our military. We also have a better appreciation for working towards a time when wars are obsolete and nations are at peace. I hope the next 3 days brings a peace for everyone who was part of the Vietnam War and a deeper appreciation in our community for those who served from our area. Thank you to all of the volunteers who assembled the wall and all those who will hold vigil while the wall is here. We are deeply thankful to have this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Good evening. So much has been said over the years and said so well about the loyalty and valor of those who served in Vietnam. At the memorial in Washington, D.C., 3 young Americans stand. They are individuals only in the terms of their battle dress. All are as one, eyes fixed upon the memorial bearing the names of their brothers in arms. On their faces are expressions of loneliness, profound love, and fierce determination never to forget it. To the Vietnam veterans gathered here today, When you returned home, you brought comfort to the loved ones of those who fell. But little comfort was given to you. I say to you, welcome home, and thank you for your service. For those names on the wall, we will never forget them. We will never forget their devotion and their sacrifice. They stand before us, marching into time and into a shared memory forever. May God bless their souls.
Mayor and Ray, thank you very, very much for your comments. Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to ask everyone to rise. We're going to do the invocation, the posting of the colors, and the national anthem will be played. So if you cannot stand this long, feel free to sit down. This time, I'd like to introduce Captain Chris Fisk, the chaplain of the 224th Brigade Engineer Battalion from Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Let us pray. Father, as we come before you this day, we give you thanks for those who have come before us, those who served, those who fought and died. Whether they fought and died for protection of each other, protection of our honor and values, protection of the innocent, protection of those who cannot protect themselves. Lord, we give you thanks for them. And we pray that our vigil here these next few days would bring the honor to them that they deserve. We pray for this in your name. Amen.
Right, very good.
and the Fairfield Band done a super job. The President's Marine Band don't have anything on you. You're At this time this evening, I'm going to introduce an individual that I've known all of his life and most of mine. He's a Fairfield native, served in Vietnam. Due to the fact that he had a good assignment in Vietnam, he's here on this stage tonight rather than out there on the wall. At this time, as our guest speaker, it's my privilege to introduce my friend, fellow comrade, Sergeant First Class James Saltz.
Thank you, Mr. Ruby, or Charlie as I know him. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, veterans, and especially Vietnam veterans, thank you for attending this opening ceremony for the Wall That Heals. I am honored to speak and share with you today. As a community, we are so very fortunate to have the Wall That Heals in Fairfield. This is one of the 2 locations in Iowa where it is being displayed. A tremendous thank you to all, to the sponsors that were responsible for bringing the wall to Fairfield, the American Legion Auxiliary Unit number 47. Would those auxiliary members please stand and be recognized? Also, thank you to all those individuals, organizations, and businesses that financially supported this endeavor. Without that support, it would not have been possible for the wall to be here. As you look at that list of contributors, note that they came from throughout Southeast Iowa. Let's have a round of applause for them. The people who travel and supervise the installation and explain all the educational displays are to be commended for their dedication for this traveling memorial. It also takes many volunteers to assist in the setup, provide assistance to visitors, disassemble and load everything back into the trailer to travel to the next location. Please give all of them a well-deserved. Thank you also to the Southeast Iowa Regional Fire Honor Guard from West Burlington for posting the colors and for them playing Amazing Grace later on bagpipes. Thank you also to the Fairfield High School Marching Band and members of the high school choir that are participating today. The servicemen who served in Vietnam were both those who were drafted and those who volunteered. If you were drafted, it was for 2 years, and there was no choice of which branch of the military you would serve in. Typically, basic training was 8 to 9 weeks, and then you were sent to additional training for a specific military specialty. This could be 8 weeks or longer. As a result, some draftees were sent to Vietnam when they had been in service for as little as 6 months. When you were in Vietnam, it was for a 1-year period of time. When your 1 period of time came, and if you had more than 150 days before your expiration of term of service, you were sent to another base out of the combat zone to complete your remaining obligation. If you had less than 150 days before your expiration of service, you would instead be processed for discharge and sent home. As a result of this, servicemen could be in combat, and within a week, they could be at home or on another military base. There was no chance to decompress, from where they had been or what they had done. There were no welcome home parades, no thank you for your service, and no appreciation for what they had endured. The American people turned their backs on these men and women. They were publicly degraded and looked down upon when they returned from a war that they had no control over. These men and women had only done what their leaders had required them to do, and they were cast away like chaff from the wind. What an injustice to so many who came home with physical injuries, mental stress that is now called post-traumatic stress syndrome. If you are a veteran, please stand again. In the Vietnam War, please stand. I want the rest of you to look around. Look around at these men. They're in their late 70s. There are people you see as your neighbor, a friend down the street, in the store, or someone you don't even know. Isn't it time that they were shown the appreciation and thanks for this service they deserved a long time ago? Now, will you welcome me home and them by saying, welcome home and thank you. Together. Welcome home. Thank you. It is said that as you get older, it seems like time goes by faster, and the things you did were not that long ago. For me, it's hard to grasp that 50 years ago today, I had been in Vietnam for 29 days. I, like many soldiers, did not want to be there, but I hoped that I would do my one-year tour and come home. In my first 9 days in country, I had arrived in Cam Ranh Bay in southern Vietnam, then placed on another aircraft to Da Nang, was there for 4 or 5 days, and then at 3 a.m. in the morning, loaded onto a C-130, riding my duffel bag that I didn't know where. I arrived at a place called Phu Bai, my ultimate post of assignment. The soldiers in my unit said it was a pretty secure location and that there hadn't been any incoming rockets for several months. Well, guess what? That didn't last long. 2 days after being there, as I was returning to my barracks, I heard the first of several incoming rockets flying overhead with their whistling. The Viet Cong were aiming for the post headquarters a short distance from our quarters. I heard one of them hit about 25 yards from our quarters and heard the shrapnel and debris hitting the tin roofs. After the short attack, I saw the effects of the closest impact on the road in front of our barracks. There were soldiers driving by in a Jeep. All the tires were flattened. The canvas top was in shreds and they had been injured. On the other side of the road was a plywood building that was a tree. I found out later that there was a soldier in there in shrapnel that pierced that building. He was killed. He had less than 60 days to go. That day, August 23rd, 1968, is forever etched in my memory. America's involvement in Vietnam lasted for 20 years, from 1955 to 1975. Close to 3 million servicemen and women were sent to Vietnam. In the beginning, they were there in an advisory capacity to the South Vietnamese government. In a few short years, our advisory role evolved into military action and the deployment of thousands of troops to Vietnam. In 1968, we had 550,000 troops in Southeast Asia. The heaviest fighting and largest number of casualties was in 1968. It started in the early weeks of the year with the Tet Offensive, launched by the North Vietnamese throughout South Vietnam. By the end of 1988, 31,000 servicemen had been killed and over 200,000 wounded. 1968 was a year in America marked with protests in the streets for America to leave its involvement in Southeast Asia and to bring our servicemen and women home. On March 31st, 1968, President Lyndon Johnson announced, "I shall not seek and I will not accept the nomination of my party as your president." He also announced that he would stop the bombing in most of North Vietnam in order to seek a negotiated end to the war. The bombing campaign was called Operation Rolling Thunder. It started March 2nd, 1965, and lasted until November 2nd, 1968, when President Johnson ordered it to be stopped. For anyone in Southeast Asia after 2 November, that date had a profound effect on their lives. In a short while, I will tell you one of the results of that action. We are here today to remember and honor and show respect for all those servicemen and women who served in Vietnam, and for all those who are listed on those 140 panels of the wall who died or became missing in action in Southeast Asia. We also remember those who later died as a result of their injuries. The total number of servicemen and women represented on that wall of today is 53,318. Let me repeat that number. 53,318. In that number are also 8 women nurses who died in Vietnam. Not enlisted in that number are numerous American civilians and missionaries who also died in Vietnam. Over 850 Iowans died in Vietnam. Here in Southeast Iowa, you see the names in your program of the 56 men who died in Southeast Asia or here years later from their injuries. There is an internet site you can go to called virtualwall.org, which lists all casualties in Southeast Asia. It will provide you with a picture of the service member, home of record, date of birth, branch of service, when they arrived in country, unit assigned to, and when they died and the cause. I took the time to view and read the information on all 56 men. I want to share with you some of what I discovered about some of these men because they were and are more than just names etched on those panels of black granite. As you look and touch and feel those names carved in those panels, it is paramount to know that all of those lives lost represent a loved one who was taken away far too early in life. They were a son or daughter, a husband or wife, a brother or sister, uncle or aunt, or a father. And in some cases, the father of a child who only knew them by name, a picture in a photo album, or stories told to them by their family. Here in Fairfield, a girl was born the day her father died in Vietnam, when the helicopter he was co-piloting developed a mechanical problem and crashed. Just east of here, at Memorial Lawn Cemetery, is where the first casualty of the Vietnam War from Fairfield was buried. Ironically, it was on November 11th, 1967, Veterans Day, the day we as a nation gathered and paid respect for all service members lost in the war. 18-year-old Private First Class Dennis Lynn Odell, United States Marine Corps, was killed by hostile fire in Quang Tri Province, South Vietnam. He had been in Vietnam less than 3 months. Private Odell was not the only young man from this area to lead grieving and heartbroken families to cope with the loss of a son. Yes, we continue to lose many more. As I said earlier, the halt to the bombing of North Vietnam greatly affected our soldiers' lives. In February 1969, after the halt, PFC Michael Sapapia, United States Marine Corps, was at Fire Support Base in Nivelle, close to the North Vietnam border. Recon teams had spotted a large buildup of enemy troops and equipment just north of the border. Because of the bombing halt and Paris peace talks going on, a request for a preemptive air or artillery strike was denied. Days later, around midnight, on February 25, 1969, Fire Support Base Nivelle and Fire Support Base Russell, located close by, were each attacked by about 200 North Vietnamese with satchel charges and artillery. The North Vietnamese penetrated the perimeter of the base and tossed satchel charges into the bunkers, where Marines were seeking shelter from incoming rounds. Heroic actions that day by Marines repelled the attack. As a result of not being able to do a preemptive strike against those troops and equipment, 40 Marines, including PFCs and all, were killed. The losses continued to mount from this area. Corporal James Leroy Miller, U.S. Army infantryman, 25th Infantry Division, 20 years old, killed on January 21st, 1969. Specialist and posthumously promoted to sergeant, Jerry Allen Frakes, U.S. Army, 101st Airborne Division, 21 years old, who was on his second tour of duty, died on August 16, 1969. His brother, Roger Frakes, is here sitting behind me. Roger is one of the Patriot Guard riders who escorted the wall here, and is the person who proposed the idea and was a driving force to bring the wall that heels to Fairfield. Roger, would you please stand and be recognized for your efforts? As you look at the displays of the trailer out here, you will see pictures of all the men from southeast Iowa who were killed or died from their injuries. They are appropriately called hometown heroes. One of those heroes was Sergeant Robert Haney, Fairfield, U.S. Army, also on his second tour when he was killed on May 3, 1969. He was posthumously awarded the Bronze Star Medal with V device for valor. I will share with you a small part of what his award said. For heroism against a hostile force, as the vehicle in which Sergeant Haney rode approached the embattled perimeter, an enemy rocket struck it, seriously wounding Haney. Despite his painful injuries, he dismounted the truck and began laying down suppressive fire, which was instrumental in forcing the enemy to retreat. As the enemy withdrew, they hurled a barrage of grenades, one of which mortally wounded Sergeant Haney. His actions undoubtedly saved the lives of his fellow soldiers. That is the mark of a hero, someone who is willing to place themselves in harm's way and sacrifice their life for their fellow man. Specialist John Skirvin, also from Fairfield, U.S. Army, died from illness just days, maybe 1 or 2, before he was scheduled to leave Vietnam. I was probably the last person from Fairfield to talk to John face to face. I was in Phu Bai, Vietnam, and John walked into the building where I worked. We had a short conversation, and then we both went our separate ways. It was just a chance meeting at 2 Fairfield High School alumni, thousands of miles from home. From Bluefield, First Lieutenant Russell D. Martin was the co-pilot of an AC-47 gunship, also called Spooky, or Puff the Magic Dragon because of its tremendous firepower. They were on a night reconnaissance mission on June 3, 1966. As the gunship was firing on the target, it burst into flames. The pilot ordered the crew to bail out of the burning aircraft. There wasn't time. The plane crashed and all 6 on board perished. Although search and rescue forces had located the wreckage, there was no sign of the crew. The 6 men were classed as missing in action. During the May-June 1985 time frame, the crash site was excavated and human remains were found. On November 5th, 2004, 38 years later from that crash, the remains of those 6 crewmen were buried in Arlington National Cemetery. From Moulton, Iowa, Petty Officer 2nd Class Gerald Owen Norton, 23 years old, was the first Navy hospital corpsman killed in Vietnam on October 6, 1962, when the helicopter developed mechanical failure and crashed into a hillside. From Keota, Iowa, U.S. Army Private First Class Thomas Allen Abel, 20 years old, said goodbye to his family in April 1969 and was killed 30 days later. From Brighton, Sergeant Craig Arthur Rich, 21 years old, said goodbye to his family in June 68 and was killed less than 2 months later in Benoit Province. Just recently, Brighton unveiled a painted Freedom Rock, and Sergeant Rich is memorialized on that rock. If you were close to my age, which you could probably guess, you probably saw Specialist Douglas Eugene Peterson, U.S. Army, driving around his specially outfitted van after he returned from Vietnam. Doug was also cited for heroism on July 12, 1969. He was awarded the Army Commendation Medal with the Valor Device for his actions against a hostile force while serving as a rifleman in Long Arm Province. Less than 3 months later, on October 1st, 1969, he suffered wounds to his lungs, spleen, and spine from enemy fire. He was hospitalized for a lengthy time and was later medically discharged due to the severity of his injuries. He returned home and lived until March 9, 1975. It took years for his name to be added to that wall, but he is now there at panel W16, line 95. These men and women are listed alphabetically by the day of casualty, beginning at the center of the wall and to the right, and then from the far left to the center, and thus the beginning and the ending of the conflict are joined at the center. They were killed and wounded in locations that witnessed some of the most intense battles, such as K-Star, where for 77 days the Marines were bombarded with over 10,000 rockets, mortars, and artillery rounds. That battle took the lives of over 274 men and wounded 2,500. During the Tet Offensive in February 1968, that took the lives of 216 men and wounded 1,600, and in places like the A Shau Battle, Pleiku, Quien Yang, Quan Tri, Hamburger Hill, and numerous landing zones and locations throughout Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. They endured hardships and injuries that left many of them maimed and disabled for life. Today, many Vietnam veterans have medical problems that are associated with their exposure to Agent Orange. In your program today, you see the names of those 56 men from Southeast Iowa who died Note that I said Vietnam conflict and not Vietnam War. War was never officially declared by the United States Congress against North Vietnam, and North Vietnam did not recognize the principles of the Geneva Convention. Therefore, all American prisoners of war were considered war criminals, and therefore North Vietnam said they were not entitled to the privileges and rights granted to prisoners of war under the terms of the Geneva Convention to be treated humanely. You see before you on that wall, there's 53,318 names on those black granite panels. Some of those men were prisoners of war who died in captivity. Still today, there are over 1,400 men who are listed as missing or unaccounted for. In May 1971, Mrs. Mary Hoff, whose husband was missing in action, recognized the need for a symbol for our prisoners of war and missing in action. She was a member of the National League of American Prisoners and Missing in Southeast Iowa. In 1972, a flag was created and adopted with the silhouette of a prisoner of war before a guard tower and barbed wire on a black field. POW MIA appears before the silhouette, and the words, "You are not forgotten," appear below in white on the black field. This flag symbolizes our nation's concern and commitment to resolving all the possible fates of American missing and unaccounted for in Southeast Asia, thus ending the uncertainty for families in the nation. Those 4 words on that flag, "You are not forgotten," is a stark reminder that Americans will not forgive all prisoners of war and those still missing in action. Congress has designated the 3rd Friday of September as National POW MIA Recognition Today. As I mentioned earlier, that the bombing campaign was called Rolling Thunder. In Washington, D.C., on the Sunday before Memorial Day, the advocacy group called Rolling Thunder holds a slow motorcycle ride from the Pentagon to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial to show the country and the world that U.S. prisoners of war and missing in action still matter to their fellow servicemen and the country for which they sacrificed their freedom. In May of this year, an estimated 500,000 bikers participated in the Rolling Thunder ride to the National Mall. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. is visited by more than 3 million people per year. People visit at all hours of the day and night to honor and show respect for those 58,318 servicemen and women. Visitors have left over 400,000 items at the wall. Here at the Traveling Wall that Heals, you too have that opportunity to be part of the healing that occurs when you visit the wall. Take time to view the exhibits at the Mobile Education Center to learn more about our servicemen and women and their service and sacrifice in Vietnam. So today, when you pass by those 53,318 men, respect and honor their memory for the life they gave in service to this nation. Thank you for being here this evening and for everyone participating in the opening and closing ceremonies. A special thank you to all who made it possible for the wall that heals to be here. In closing, I leave you with a quote from General Douglas MacArthur that is as appropriate today as when he made it many years ago. The soldier, above all others, prays for peace. For it is the soldier who must suffer and bear the deepest wounds and scars of war. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to hear from some members of the Fairfield Choral Group as they present some music for us at this time. Thank you very, very much. At this time, a fellow member of the American Legion Post 504 has been also part of the committee, as Jim recognized him as the steering force, or the driving force to make this happen. Roger wants to make a few comments about a couple phone calls he had. This time, Roger Frakes.
Well, after listening to that beautiful music, I'm going to make this real short. A couple of years ago, the Legion Auxiliary decided that they were going to bring the Wall of Heels to town, and I've had a little experience working with it. So they asked me if I'd give them a hand, and I said, yeah, but I got to do all the fun stuff. You guys are going to have to do the hard work, and that's pretty much the way it's ended up. But I got to talk to a good share of the volunteers that come out here. I was out here the other day putting this up, and they'll be back out here 24 hours a day. But I had two calls. This first one I'll remember forever. This is the very first call I got, was from Ideen, and she says, my Cub Scouts want to come out and help you guard the wall at night. The fourth call I got was from Sandy and her Girl Scouts, and they said, we want to come out and help. So we noticed the kids back here have been passing out programs. So thanks a whole bunch of kids for coming out.
Thanks very much, Roger, for sharing the help that just came to you so easy. At this time, we're going to recognize the names of the soldiers that fell from the state of Iowa in this community. The names as I read them are not in any alphabetical or chronological order, but the way they died. The way they're listed here, they're alphabetical by community, and then they're alphabetical within the community. So at this time, the city of Albia lost Gary L. Abrahamson, Marvin E. Gordon, Harry A. Gretton. The city of Bloomfield lost, as Jim mentioned, Russell D. Martin, Gordon B. Matthews, James W. Spear. From Brighton, Craig A. Rich. From Bonaparte, Jimmy D. Still. From Burlington, Ricky G. Hall. From Bussey, Francis E. GLAZEBROOK. From Centerville, James D. Coron. Dennis M. Craver. Richard E. Donahue. Cincinnati, Michael C. Lawson. From Fairfield, Jerry A. Frakes. Robert B. Haney Jr. James L. Miller. Dennis L. Odell. Douglas E. Peterson. John D. Skirvin. Michael L. Zapia. From Keota, Samuel A. Ecklock. Thomas A. Nebel. La Villa, Robert J. Comstock. I'm going to switch pages. From Moulton, Harry A. Barber. Rex S. Wood. Eugene T. McCoy. Gerald O. Norton. Mount Pleasant, Manzel A. Ford. Charles C. Miller. Michael D. O'Connor. Stanley D. Ross. Mystic, lost Lloyd W. Jones. Our neighbor Ollie lost Wheeler B. Brooks. Michael K. Wonderly. Oskaloosa, Richard L. Bartlow. Michael L. Lytle. David L. McCombs. Warren E. Phillips. Ottumwa, Michael H. Beaver. Larry D. Blavin. Dwayne A. Cotwell. Paul D. Eckert. John F. Link. Kenneth A. Maloney. Terry V. Miller. David L. Parrish. Terry Roberts. Russell C. Scully. Dyke Spillman. Richland, Brian L. Wilson. Selma, Robert F. Steele. Sigourney, Marvin F. Weir. Washington, Willard J. Fries. Robert G. Harvey. Larry E. Smith. May their souls rest in peace. Next on our program, we're honored to have the Southeast Iowa Regional Fire Honor Guard from West Burlington with us tonight. They're going to do Amazing Grace for us. Thank you very, very much. It was outstanding. As we get ready to close, the benediction will be given again by Chaplain Chris Fisk. I failed to mention that he's a native of Fairfield also. I shouldn't say a native. He's assigned as the pastor at the Life Living Lutheran Church here in Fairfield. Chaplain Fisk, would you do the benediction?
Please stand. And now the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. Amen.
I'll make a couple closing comments and I won't drag this out any longer. Not that we shouldn't. I want to thank everyone that has been involved to make this become a reality. Thanks to the band, whether it was band members, instrumental, or music, you were outstanding. Like I said, the president don't have anything on you. The committee has worked hard. We had a lot of volunteers to build this wall yesterday. I helped build it a little bit in Richland in '09, but I didn't realize what was involved. This is a little different baby than we had. It's 125 feet longer, and I got involved and I got my teeth cut, I'll tell you that. Not that I wouldn't do it again, because when they put it back in the trailer, I'll be involved. Again, thanks to everyone for what they have done, and I'll make one final comment. You're here now in the daylight, and go see the wall. But if you really want to see the wall looking the best, come back after dark sometime, and go out there and just be silent while the 58,318 souls that gave their life for the freedom that we enjoy, that go see what the light on. It's outstanding. Thanks, everybody.